All right, everyone. Nice news coming from the French government and the French culture in general. Uh, yeah. Hi, everyone. This is Gauthier from Web3 Enabler. And so, in today's episode, I'd like to talk to you about something because, as some of you know, I'm one of the French members of the team. And today, I have this very surprising news, something that I wasn't expecting really, because basically the French government has started trying, tinkering, experimenting with Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. So far, our government had been nothing but very critical and cynical about that. Even the one of the directors, of the leaders of the IMF, Christine Lagarde, who was a former French minister, she was very involved in a cryptocurrency bashing campaign. So that was, as you can imagine, very surprising when I read the news 2 days ago. So December 13, what I read is that French bank Société Générale, which you may have heard about, because these guys have become infamous because of our French Bernard Madoff, named Jérôme Caviel. Not bashing that guy in particular, he had also good arguments against his own bank, but they became infamous and very well known. All around the world, but Société Générale is one of the biggest French banks. And interestingly, they partnered with the Banque de France, so basically our own French central bank, and they tested blockchain transactions. So, of course, that's France. That's not really super decentralization friendly. What we had was a test, and they started using the Ethereum blockchain as a guarantee in exchange for a CBDC emitted by the French bank. So it might look like nothing, and it might look a bit disappointing because it's a CBDC. So for those of you who really value decentralizations, that's not really cool. But to me, that's still something that's a good indicator of how mainstream cryptocurrencies are becoming. Um, because if one of the most bureaucratic countries in the world, namely France, um, and one of the most anti-crypto countries in the world, in the developed world, is using that, that means that there really has been a paradigm shift. So, in an announcement on December 13, the French bank has basically said that this. Société Générale has said that this operation was conducted collaborating with the Banque de France. And it's interesting because there was a repo, so a financial transaction, where one party sells an asset um, to another party with the promise that it will be bought back later at a set price. And so there was a repo transaction conducted in France in CBDCs using the Ethereum blockchain. France is usually very late in this regard. French entrepreneurs are not late. Of course, I've seen many terrific people working in this regard. I've seen many people in private companies using blockchain and cryptocurrencies initiatives, and these guys are absolutely valuable in the crypto space and internationally recognized for their skill level and their knowledge. The problem is that usually our government lags behind, and we're still lagging behind. But that's very interesting to see that even in France, the paradigm shift has happened. And so, yes, that's absolutely mind-boggling to see that an entity such as La Banque de France accepted that. So. Basically, in the transaction, tokenized obligations emitted in 2020 on Ethereum have been used as a guarantee, while the CBDC emitted by the French central bank was used as a liquidity. So, statement from Société Générale, the French bank, basically they said that this operation demonstrates the technical feasibility of refinancing, refinancing on the blockchain. So this demonstrates the potential of a digital currency to improve, you know, the liquidity of digital assets. So this is very important. This is something that that really makes it. relevant in the EU. Some people sometimes joke about that, saying, "Yes, the European Union doesn't have cryptocurrencies, but yet regulates crypto, and we don't have AI or not so much AI, and yet we regulate it, and we do not have other things such as." For example, I don't know, VR or social media, and we still regulate that harder than the people who invented that. That's a bold statement, but I do not totally disagree with it. The thing is, I really appreciate the fact that in the crypto payment industry, the EU is not lagging behind by too much of a big margin, and that's going to be interested because in the US, for example, you guys have that and have had that for quite a long time, and tokenized debt, for example. So all the financial products that are tied to the U.S. public debt are tokenized on the blockchain already by private companies, and I think the number was $2.9 billion in asset capitalization, asset locked value in December 2024. So, of course, the EU is still lagging behind. But it's interesting to see that that CBDC initiative from the French central bank had been in the tubes for something like 3 years. They started, standing, offering basically. These possibilities to private banks just to tinker with it, just to try and see if it works. And many other French banks tried it, but now basically they tried to do it, and they tried to do it with country to country transactions, trans country transactions, and international ones. So, same year in 2024, our central bank signed a bilateral collaboration with the Financial Authority of Hong Kong, so the HKMA, and they did that for big CBDC projects and tokenization projects. So this is really something that becomes a good sign that the cryptocurrency business is here to stay, even in the EU. So for those of you who are conducting business internationally, and if you are conducting business in the Eurozone only or in the US zone only, basically, yes, of course, you wouldn't need cryptocurrencies because euro and dollar are great products in themselves. But whenever you want to conduct business from one zone to another, you lose quite a lot of money for each of your bank wires. And that's something that you can address by using stable coins, by using cryptocurrency exchanges. And it's been nothing but transaction fees going down since the beginning of these technologies. So sometimes, because the networks are saturated, transaction fees go up again. But people are actively researching that, and there are many chains on which transaction fees are so low that it makes it ridiculous to basically send a traditional bank wire. And for international businesses, that's something that is very problematic, because that means that in the future, if you keep using traditional banking in order to pay your customer, or your service provider as a customer, you're going to lose quite a lot of money. And if you use digital currencies, you're going to use quite a lot to save quite a lot of money. So this is something that I encourage you to look up. The story about the French central bank in itself is trivial at best, but that's a good indicator that even the laggers, the historical laggers, who usually tend to be very chauvinistic regarding new technologies, and especially what comes from the US. So France has that weird admiration towards the US. We have many people in the corporate world who always use English words in their wordings in their meetings, just to be able to show that they are basically coming from the real business class. But at the same time, we have a traditional, not hatred, but traditional skepticism about American culture. So you have to understand that for the regular Frenchie, a US citizen is a person wielding a gun every day and eating burgers and overweight and basically eating hormone fed chicken and that kind of stuff. Of course, it's a prejudice. Of course, it's absolutely not true. It's a cliche, so cliches don't start from nothing, but of course that's a very poor description of what a US citizen is. But same thing, the average French person in the financial game and in the business game in France doesn't know so much about the reality of what U.S. businesses do, and so they don't know so much about cryptocurrencies either. And it's interesting to see that even though we have that mentality, even though the mental laggers are basically historically always behind, we are still starting to use CBDCs as well. So, from a personal point of view, I'm not a super fan of CBDCs for many reasons, and notably because it's not that decentralized and that it can be tampered with. So, economically, that doesn't incentivize sane economical policies. But still, that shows that the tech is here to stay. And as I said, if you conduct international business, if you wire $1,000 to a service provider, to a remote employee working in another country, you're going to lose between $30 and $60. And so that's going to be quite a lot. If you pay in CBDCs, you're going to lose almost nothing, maybe one euro, €2, $1, $2 to convert that money. If you pay in some other cryptocurrencies, maybe you're going to lose less than that. So that means that if you conduct business from one zone dominated by one currency to another zone dominated by a currency, you're going to save quite a lot with that. And so far, I heard many people telling me, "Yeah, but Gautier, I'm a bit skeptical because the EU is still skeptical about stable coins and cryptocurrencies. So yes, that's interesting. But what if they don't use that? So that means that cryptos would be only used for countries that face a banking nightmare, an inflationist nightmare, a shitty currency, or maybe countries that have to circumvent sanctions. Yes, that could have been the case, but every sign that we can see these days is showing us that there will be international business conducted from the EU zone to the rest of the world, and from the US to the rest of the world, and from the US to the EU. So if you have EU customers, or if you are based in the EU, that's a very good news. And so that's how I'm going to finish this live, everyone. Thanks for listening. This was the Web3 capsule, regular recurring news about the blockchain industry and cryptocurrency payments and all this industry. This episode brought to you by Web3 Enabler, the first and only crypto payment solution on Salesforce. We are live on Salesforce's App Exchange. Look us up if you are Salesforce users. Cheers, everyone.